What do you think is more dangerous conspiracy-wise? The World Economic Forum's Great Reset or CNN putting COVID numbers at the top of the screen for emotional manipulation?
I think that they're both pretty dangerous, which is kind of dodging the question. But it goes back to my point that no one's shared reality is going to be perfectly absent of nonsense, because we all end up believing nonsense based on what our in-group believes, and we all confirm it our own biases. Therefore, the ones we should be most critical of, the shared realities we should be most alert to, are the ones that come from universities and the mainstream media and these big organizations like the World Economic Forum, because those institutions have power, whereas random anonymous message board with Q posters does not.
I think a lot of what we're seeing is Great Reset stuff. So it was interesting. Someone made the point that when they announced 15 days to slow the spread, Mark Zuckerberg said, we're not going to reopen until next June, like a year from now or whatever. And then sure enough, that's when a bunch of the states are lifting their lockdowns, as if Mark Zuckerberg knew, or it's a coincidence, whatever. The point is, a lot of these businesses took action, whether it mattered to the pandemic or not. A lot of these states were doing things that had nothing to do with the pandemic. For instance, there was a woman in North New Jersey who was selling things on Facebook online. She had a little resale shop, and when they shut all the businesses down, she was in her business and she was filming things saying, if you see anything you like, just let me know and we'll ship it out. And the cops showed up with a smile on their face and said, ma'am, you can't do what you're doing. And she was like, what do you mean? They're like, you have to close your store. And she goes, we are closed. No, ma'am, you can't live stream your products and then sell them. What does that have to do with COVID? And why did these cops go and do it? Those cops should be fired. But they will.
Like 25% of people who have not left their homes throughout all of COVID, something insane like that. That's serious delusion. That people want us to talk about Q and stuff like those people. I'm scared of those people.
I'm terrified of these people because they vote, and it's like you see these videos. There's one video recently of a woman wearing, it's like she made out of PVC pipe, this like the square rectangle thing that goes over her body with plastic sheets, and then like her hands can come out through gloves, and she's walking around with this thing. You see videos. I wonder how many of these are jokes, right? Because we bought the space helmet thing, which is really funny. Yeah. I have this thing. It's called like microclimate, and it's like a space helmet. I gotta admit though, I bought it as a gag because it was funny, but it's really useful when I'm cleaning out the garage and there's all the dust and pollen, and I would go in there. And I'd try to clean out the dust a bit, and I'm sneezing like crazy, and I'm like, I'm going to wear my space helmet. And it works. It's beautiful. It's just big, and it's got air filters in it. I'm like, this is actually really nice.
Advertisements you didn't know you needed.
Yeah, maybe they should market it as like when you're cleaning in a dusty place, and you need filters because of,
Yeah, and for your eyes, too.
But anyway, you have a lot of these people who believe the most insane things. These videos where like people are walking down the street wearing, a hazmat suit or something, and they jump out of the way of people. I have friends. And it's like, dude, I get it. I understand there's a concern about COVID, but some people just go nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I understand if you're like in a vulnerable group, if you're older or if you have some sort of condition that makes you particularly at risk due to COVID. But like normal, healthy people are doing this. Like,
it's not just the lockdown. It's like the extremism. It's the wearing the weird hazmat suits with like an air canister.
What gutted me of everything I've seen in the last 2 years is the baby, when the baby was born in plastic, and then the mom like pressed it against her, pressing the baby's face against the plastic sheet so it was protected. I don't know. It was just so sad to for the baby's first experience in life to be smushed into plastic.
Right. The point I'm trying to get to is that there are a lot of people who believe insane conspiracy theories that are unfounded. Not even the mainstream media is saying it, but there's no criticism from journalists over what crazy people are saying.
You got to be so careful because you can get banned for criticizing specific things you don't even know what they are.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying CNN's Brian Stelter will never come out and say Antifa is a problem. He's done it like when Andy No got attacked. He did a blurb where he's like, a journalist shouldn't get attacked. See, there we go. Anyway, moving on. Tucker Carlson, by the way. They won't do it. So yes, we all know QAnon is bad. We all know these people believe crazy things and they never seem to give up. We don't talk about the fringe far left conspiracies, the lunatics who believe insane things about like, the left always tries to disavow this. Like, what conspiracies? Well, there's like a whole bunch of weird medicinal websites that are run by crystal woo-woo people who are leftists, who are socialists, who are hippies on farms, who believe insane things about medicine and about hospitals. The media doesn't talk about that. They like to talk about anti-vaxxers, but they only ever highlight like a conservative or just like some random person on the internet. They don't talk about Russiagate. Literally 4 years of the mainstream media propping up completely fake news, and they still do it every single day. So it's gonna be fantastic. Look, this bill in Florida, maybe they won't be able to actually enforce these things, but there's a provision saying that news organizations can't be banned based on their content.
I'll preface it by saying I'm not a lawyer, but like the lawyers I've talked to say it's extremely difficult for that to get past the First Amendment unless you also have some kind of common carrier or public accommodation requirement. I'll say this about the Florida bill, though. It does have a pretty strong transparency requirement that can't be dodged, by appeals to the Constitution or to 230. So that could be interesting. It might force these tech companies to really, show us what's going on with their algorithms. Although they might just do that and say, okay, yeah, we are censoring you. We don't care. What are you going to do about it?
At the very least, a bunch of lawsuits will be filed at the state level.
Yep, that will happen.
And then what's Facebook going to do? They're going to deal with. I mean, we talked about the other day. You got 21 million people in Florida. Let's say around half of them are Republicans. Around 20% are probably paying attention on social media because that's the number on Twitter, and 2% of those are active on Twitter, actually posting. So you can have between a couple 100,000 or tens of thousands of people and millions of people who might actually have issue with these social media companies. Many of them might file lawsuits and have grounds to do so.
And they might, but it's doubtful in my view that any of those will, survive in court. I think the tech companies will win. Now,
at the state level?
At the state level. Now,
but how if if the state passes the law and then they go to a court in that state and say, see what your law says? That's what they did.
The tech companies will just take it to the federal.
They would have to appeal to the feds. But that still means they're going to be attacked on multiple fronts, that they're going to have to pay for these lawyers. They're going to have to take it to court, and it's going to cost them a lot of money, and they're not going to get their court costs back.
Not that much. It's very hard to impose financial consequences on the tech companies that they actually care about, and it would have to exceed the financial cost that the media can impose on them by whipping up ad boycotts, and that's like hundreds of billions of dollars.
Well, the problem ultimately is none of these things individually. It's our community. It is that we don't care about each other or our country. We have no shared interests, no shared goals. The country is split, not just down the middle, because sure, there's a culture war with a left and a right, whatever those factions may be, but there's subcategories within these factions that are fighting with each other that dislike each other. The states are another instance of factional conflict, and these boycotts are the most insane. These corporations and the ad boycotts are the stupidest things ever. You see Coke now backtracking. Oh, no, we didn't mean to criticize Georgia. It's just absolutely insane that these corporations are deciding to sacrifice their business for like 7% of the country.
One way to look at it is that centralization is fighting decentralization. Like the internet has busted up everyone's shared realities. We're now going into, the realities we like best. But the forces of centralization are trying to fight that by suppressing all these ideologies and imposing one shared progressive worldview on everyone. What needs to happen is the law needs to follow the trend of decentralization and actually culture needs to create more tolerance for, diverse viewpoints, because viewpoints are getting more diverse as, shared reality breaks down.
Right. I see why the centralization is doing that, because historically, if a culture would permeate or break apart, it would be taken over by outside forces. So they want to make sure it's strong. But if we evolve the decentralized system so that it communicates properly with itself, then we should still have similar security to a centralized system.
Maybe they really do like that it's breaking down. Maybe it's just look, the Great Reset. It's funny when I see people on Twitter say it's a conspiracy theory, and I'm like, but here's their website. It's the World Economic Forum. It's the Davos Group. It's a bunch of extremely wealthy and powerful individuals around the world saying they're doing this and they're going to do it, and here's what they're going to do, and they're all woke.
Yeah, the conspiracy isn't that it exists. The conspiracy is the actual thing they're doing.
It's not a theory. It's a conspiracy fact.
Small group of people decided to make some moves and make some stuff happen. And
I guess conspiracy implies crime. Oh. So they're not literally advocating for crimes. They're saying everybody should have a stake in the globe. And look what's happening. The price of wood and steel have skyrocketed. Bacon, coffee, chicken, everything's inflating like crazy. The gold to lumber ratio is nearing 1. It's at 1.1 or something.
What does that mean exactly?
So I don't know exactly, but it's been this way before. It's supposed to be a good sign that there's going to be some kind of normalization, but it does show that lumber is skyrocketing up to gold. Gold isn't going down, so it's inflationary, which means your savings will become worthless. Your salaries will need to go up substantially, but what's going to happen is there's going to be a period where people can't buy things. You're not going to be able to build a new house. You're not going to be able to expand your company and buy and have new projects. There's going to be a very serious recession, maybe even a depression. And that means your savings will be worthless. People need to understand this, man. They don't understand how dangerous it is. It's one of the reasons Doge and Ethereum and Bitcoin are probably skyrocketing, because look, I'm sure the meme has a lot to do with it. Dogecoin, haha, it's so funny. It was at 63 cents or something, 67 cents at one point.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of people saying, I don't want to have US dollars right now. So what can I do with it? Oh, here's a meme. People have confidence in this thing. I'll buy some of that. But Bitcoin and Ethereum have real value. Ethereum as a function, as an actual tool function for a lot of different services, and Bitcoin just as a digital store of value and first in, best dressed. So people are trying to find a way to not hold US dollars. That's certainly my perspective, which is why gold and silver are also on my mind as well. I think people need to understand, if you work right now for 1 hour, and that 1 hour of labor gives you enough currency to buy, maybe a meal at a restaurant, if you hold on to that in 4 months, that will not be able to buy you anything anymore. That money that you had that at one point could have bought you that chicken dinner won't be able to buy you even a soda. That's what inflation means. It means the labor you do is constantly being devalued as time goes on. So you need to put your money somewhere where the value is retained, stored, or will increase.
And inflation, by definition, means that it's getting bigger faster. So the less valuable it gets, the faster it gets less valuable. Otherwise it would be a linear deflation. It is, if that's such a thing, a linear deflation.
People think it can't happen here.
Oh, it can happen.
People think it can't happen.
It happened
here.
in 1928, 1929. People lost everything. They bought stock on loans, and then when the stocks tanked, they had to pay back loans with money they didn't have.
Margin calls. Yeah. So they called in the loans. But
they were encouraged to do it by the financial industry.
Of course. You take a look at Weimar Germany and the photos of people shoveling, worthless marks in the street. You look at Venezuela, it could happen here, and people think it can't, and I'm like, no, it can. Maybe we don't know when or why, but it's really amazing how we've had such a long period of sustained prosperity that people just can't fathom hardship.
I think they're going to do a currency recall where they say, give us your dollars, and for every dollar you give us, we're going to give you a token of this new currency. And you have 2 years. After 2 years, your dollars are worth zero. And that's a hard stop.
The funny thing is they can just say that, right? Mm-hmm. If Biden came out right now and said the U.S. dollar is no longer going to be backed by the U.S. government, then people would be like,
Turn your dollars. All those people hiding cash under their mattress.
That's the stupidest thing, too. You saw that story about the grandfather who hid 50 grand in their floorboards? 50 grand, 60, 70 years ago was hundreds of thousands of dollars in buying power. Should have stored some gold in that box.
Should have stored some Doges.
Nice big box of Doge.
70 years ago, buy some Doge and put it
cold storage.
Some cold storage sticks. Yeah.
70-year-old Dogecoin. Yes.
That's right. Could you imagine?
That's what you need.
In like 20 years. So some people have been saying that Dogecoin is going to be cash because it never stops getting printed. Right?
That works much better as a currency than Bitcoin does. No doubt.
Right. So Bitcoin. It's funny because people are saying the current state of Bitcoin defies the original intent of Bitcoin. It's a deflationary currency, though. There's entropy. Coins will slowly just be lost and destroyed, and eventually they can't be produced anymore, so the value can only go up. Doge can be printed and just made forever. So a lot of people are like, that's why Doge is better as a currency, because the money market can expand with the economy. Would it not be the greatest thing ever if one Doge became $1 and it stayed there forever, the buying power of $1 right now, and it just normalized? And then in 50 years, people are like, pulling up their phone, like, how much for the Whopper meal? 43 Doge? Okay. And they scan their phones. And it's not even a joke anymore. It's just literally just Doge, like, yo, toss me 50 Doge, man. I want to go pick up some pizzas. And you're like, all right, dude. And you swipe your phone. You're like, hook it up. They're like, cool.
How many Shiba Inus do you think got bought in 2021 so far?
Shiba Inu.
Is that the type of dog that it is?
Yeah, that's the type of dog.
Yeah, how many, I think, were adopted over the last 12 months?
Yeah.
Power to the Shiba Inu.
Right.
It would be funny if Doge becomes the main currency.
I don't think it will. I think it's good that Bitcoin has a finite supply so that you can't overinflate it. Like some crazy guy can't be like, I'm going to print 100 trillion and keep 990 billion of them. But that we'll just keep making new currencies that have finite supplies, and you know ahead of time what we're getting into, and that's how we'll be able to have an infinite supply.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.